This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points, presented by Community Coffee, official coffee of the Houston Texans. Also sponsored by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans. And by your Houston area Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. And by Amegy, the official business bank of the Houston Texans.
Let's go for what we got. Need some juice, need some energy, and just do your job. Punch the ball. Here comes pressure. He's going to go down. Touchdown, Houston. Rock and roll.
Well, hello there, and welcome into Texans Extra Points. This is going to be a fun one because Houston's still gunning for win number 1 of the season, and they're trying to do so against the Los Angeles Chargers. I almost said San Diego Chargers. My name's Drew Dougherty. I'm your host. We got a big one here. We got Jonathan Alexander. He's on the beat with the Houston Chronicle, covering the Texans. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you, and it's always great to see you, my friend. John Harris of HoustonTexans.com. You're the team sideline reporter on the radio. We've got a lot to discuss, don't we?
I think we do. Let's go.
That's very calm of you, the way
Yes.
I like that. It's very calm.
Won't last.
Things won't be calm for long, as he says, because we've got a big show. We're going to start things off talking about the offense. After the break, we got a defensive breakdown. Plus, when that concludes, we got to take a deep dive into what the Chargers are going to present challenge-wise against this Houston Texans team. And then, as we always do, we wrap it up with a couple of keys to a victory for the Houston Texans. So let's dive right in. Offensively, starts and ends with the quarterback. That's nothing new. Davis Mills has said himself, I got to play better. I got to do things better. So with all that in mind, how does Davis Mills turn the tide, so to speak, in the fourth quarter? Because it just hasn't been good enough. Not my words, his, Lovie Smith's, and the rest of the teams.
Yeah, absolutely. For one, he has to take care of the football.
Yeah.
You know, the 2 interceptions can't happen. I liked he was being aggressive on that first one in the first quarter, but it just wasn't there. It seemed like the play broke down a little bit. But the fourth quarter one, it was obviously tipped at the line of scrimmage. He might have had some other players open, but he's got to take care of the football. That's first and foremost. And he got to continue to take chances. I like the idea of taking chances. He didn't really do that much in the first 2 games. You could see him, throw a ball a little deeper. But first of all, the running game has to be a little bit better to help him out.
Yeah, no doubt about the run. And we're going to get into the run game for more in a little bit. But what do you see? Turn the tide. How does that happen for Davis?
Well, when somebody's struggling, as Jonathan said, you got to have other guys pick you up. When you're struggling a little bit and when you're throwing the football, then somebody else has got to make a big catch. Somebody else has got to make a big play. I thought the play that really was going to open it up for Davis was the play in the fourth quarter when he got out of the pocket just a little bit and was able to find Farrell Brown. They're coming out of their own goal line, and he made that throw for a first down in the fourth quarter. It was only first down in the fourth quarter. I felt like that was going to be the throw that really got him going, but it just didn't. So maybe moving around the pocket a little bit, maybe move the pocket. Pep Hamilton calling some things where the pocket is moved to get him moving and getting thrown on the run maybe. Remember, a couple of big throws last year as a rookie, he threw out of the pocket on the run. So maybe there's some different looks that Pep can provide for Davis that he can make those throws down the field. But to Jonathan's point, you've also got to have some guys step up and make some plays too.
Yeah, and one of those guys who can step up, and I'm going to stick with you, is Dameon Pierce.
Yes.
We've seen his touches rise each week. You see him getting on the field a little bit more and a little bit later, but he still hasn't gone the whole way through as far as being on the field in crunch time. So, complete this sentence, John. For a win over Los Angeles, Dameon Pierce must
Not fumble.
Okay.
We'll start there. Jonathan went there. Damien's got to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Davis got to take care of it. Damien's got to take care of it. But at that point, I think Damien's doing a really nice job of seeing running lanes. He's doing a great job with that. I'd also like to see Damien catch the ball.
Yeah.
Give him the rock out in space. 2 catches for 21 yards the other day. And when he gets out in space, that's when he's even more difficult to tackle. He's getting tackled inside because there are 3-4 guys there to be able to make a tackle. If you get it to him out in the flat or you throw him a little circle route on a check down, he's out in space and really going to make it tough for defenders.
And not a lot's been made about how he was able to do that at Florida. We know about the violence when he runs with the ball, but he could catch the ball as well. Okay, how about you? Let's complete that sentence. What must Dameon Pierce do against Los Angeles? What must happen?
Yeah, I think he has to have a 100-yard game.
Okay.
You know, I think he was very close with the Bears. The Bears weren't as good of a run defense team.
It was headed that way at the end of the third quarter.
It was heading that way, yeah, absolutely. Definitely, I agree with John's point. He has to take care of the ball. I was talking to him after the game. He said that's not up to his standard. That's not up to the coach's standards, his teammates. He said he hopes to do away with that. So definitely has to take care of the ball. But I think a 100-yard game will definitely help open things up for the offense, for Davis Mills, maybe allow them to run some play-action fakes. But, yeah, Dameon Pierce has to be good. He's a great runner. He runs with bad intentions, and you can see him getting better every game.
Yeah, Himothy, I think.
Himothy.
I like that reference earlier in the preseason. What about the O-line? It's been shaken up a little bit. You got Scott Quessenberry settling in as a starting center. This will be start number 3. He knows about the Chargers. He was a Charger for a while, grew up in Southern California. What have you seen from the O-line as far as maybe some progress that's going on and maybe some things they got to shore up and get better at?
Yeah, I've definitely seen some progress there, especially they added rookie Kenyon Green, and he's just been an amazing run blocker so far, and he's pretty good too in the passing game. Laramie Tunsil is going to give you what he gives you. He's a good player, one of the better players on this team. I love what Scott Quessenberry has done in filling in for Justin Britt. AJ Can's a solid player, and Titus Howard is going to get you his. They've definitely got to protect Davis Mills a little bit better. Didn't have too many sacks, I believe, last game, but occasionally they've given up some sacks and they've led to fumbles.
Yeah.
So they got to shore that up and continue with that running game.
Yeah, you know, he brings up Titus Howard. You brought him up in our podcast earlier in the week on In the Lab. You say Titus Howard's got to be the guy in this game for the Houston Texans, didn't you?
He's got to take his game to a different level. If you ask me that same question, Drew, I'd tell you consistency.
Yeah.
Because you watch some plays and you're like, man, look at him move people off the ball. Then you watch another play and you see offensive linemen standing around as Damien's still trying to fight through a tackle. There needs to be a consistent manner in which they're playing every single down. And they're not quite there yet. And I think Titus has got to be that guy that takes his game to a completely different level. He's a first-round pick for a reason. Now, play like that from play start to play whistle, not play start till the internal clock in your head goes off. It is play all the way through, and you never know which one of those blocks you stay on that Damien then runs through it and takes one to the house.
Yeah.
That offensive line's got to be more consistent, in my opinion.
Good stuff. All right, we got to get into the defense after the break, but before we do, this guy is a wizard with the marker on the television screen, and I'm talking about the translator. I'm talking about John Harris. Check out this latest version of the Telestrator.
Welcome to Texas Telestrator, presented by BMW. I am John Harris, your host, and I want to focus on third down conversions today because the Texans' offense has struggled a little bit with it, but when they hit them, oh boy, they knock them out of the park. Case in point, first third down on a scoring drive against the Bears right here, 3rd and 7. Let's go to the surface and take a look. The Bears are going to play what looks like two-man. It's going to show two-man. So they're going to man up here, and they're going to man out of this bunch with Roquan and Gordon and Jones out of this bunch. Back here, it looks like, well, it's two-man. They're just going to play over the top. But actually, they're going to rob this. So this is one robber where one guy goes to the middle of the field. He's going to rob an interior route. And this actually is the right coverage for what the Texans want to do, which is take Chris Moore and get him on the crosser. Eddie Jackson can come down and get that. But Davis holds the ball just a little bit longer to give Chris a little bit more time to cross the formation. And when he does, Jackson picks off, actually, this guy right here, Kyler Gordon, who's in man coverage. So let's run it through here. And you can see what happens right there. Gordon kind of like, whoa, what am I supposed to do? So he pulls up, and as he does, Chris breaks into that open spot. Davis throws a dime, and Chris is off the races. And that sort of broke the seal on the offense on Sunday. Let's go and look at the protection here. They do a pretty good job of keeping Davis up and available. Nice job, 4-man rush. They're going to double here. Nice job. Laramie's got Quinn taken care of. One-on-one, AJ's doing a good job there. Good little chip right here from Rex to help Titus. And that just buys enough time. And you can see Davis, he's looking here. So he sees these two guys and knows, wait a second, there's nobody there. And so that's when he sets his feet again. And that's a great quarterback coaching point here. Quarterbacks, watch Davis set his feet. His feet are one way, but then he matches his feet with his eyes. And once, look at how his feet change. His feet were there, right? Nope, if I go back a little bit, right there. See how his feet are there? But then when he goes to throw to Chris, his feet move. Excellent coaching point. Great hands catch by Chris. Big play. Got the Texans going on Sunday.
Mills gets the snap, looking left, now firing downfield to the right, has more, 45, 40, 35 of the Bears. There's traffic, and he's forced out of bounds at about the 20-yard line of Chicago. Mills, quick pass. Nico at the 5. Nico in the end zone. The dagger. Touchdown, Houston. My goodness. They're going to do it.
All right, we're back. Texans Extra Points continues from the Ford Studios. We got Jonathan Alexander, the Houston Chronicle, and John Harris of the Houston Texans. And guys, talked about the offense in the first segment. Now it's time to focus on the defense. And wow, versus the run, UGLY, and there were a few alibis there. But what do they do to get better, to shore up things against the run? Now, it helps that the Chargers are only averaging 2.6 yards per, but you can't just rely on that. What do they need to do better?
Yeah, I do think this is the game that they can get back, but it starts with that defensive line. They got to close those gaps, and if they don't, then the linebackers have to be better. And Lovie Smith talked about that. He wants to see more production from the linebackers. They may add Blake Cashman into that starting lineup, and I don't think that'd be a bad idea. He played very well in training camp. So they've got to close those holes. They've got to tackle. Tackle is the biggest thing. Khalil Herbert broke 4 tackles and had 83 yards after contact. That can never happen. I do think the running defense had been their Achilles heel, and it came to the forefront last game.
Jalen Petrie came into last week saying, I got to make some impact plays. I haven't gotten any takeaways yet. Well, he did it. 2 picks, a sack, 2 TFLs. Pretty darn good stuff. What do you see from him as far as growth, and how impressed have you been with the growth you've seen from Petrie?
Yeah, I think Petrie was impressive in training camp. He won that starting job very early on. I think the one thing missing after those first 2 games were the interceptions or the turnovers, and he finally did that. He's tackling well. He's seeing the field. He did admit that he made a few mistakes. One long run, he was out of his gap. So he definitely has to get better with that. But I think the more he gets experience, the better he get. I think he's a ball hawk, and he was in the right place both times. Good play by Christian Kirksey on one of those interceptions to force him to throw it deep. But, he was in the right place at the right time doing his job, and that's what you like from a young player. And I think he'll continue to get better.
And I know as a former safety yourself, you've loved what you've seen from him so far, haven't you?
I don't think we're far away from saying Jalen Petrie is the best defensive player on his team.
Yeah.
And, we're going to week 4. We could say that right now. He's made plays in every facet out on the field, and we got to have for him to continue that going forward. Takeaways or not, just his presence out on the field is huge, and his leadership, I think, is starting to come out a little bit more, even as a rookie.
All right, lightning quick from each of you before this break. Complete the sentence. I think the Texans pass rush.
Oh, boy, that's a good one. I think the Texans pass rush eats this week. I think it's at least 4 sacks.
Yeah, I think they can get at least 3 sacks, too. They've been balling.
I'll take it. 3 sacks, eat. That's all good stuff. We like these things here on Texans Extra Points. We also love trivia. So think about it. The Texans have beaten the Chargers 3 times in franchise history, 2013, 2019, and then last season. Lots of touchdown passes in those games, but only 2 wide receivers in those 3 games have ever caught one. Who are they? Name those Texans receivers later on in Texans Extra Points.
Long count here by Rivers, who gets the snap. Quick throw and picked off Brian Cushing. He's off to the races. 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Houston! Welcome back, Brian! The Texans are going to tie it up.
We're back. That was a late night in 2013. Brian Cushing getting the pick 6 in San Diego when the Chargers were San Diego. Drew, Jonathan, John, guys, let's talk about these Chargers on the spot. Number 1 Charger that the Texans need to limit, contain, whatever you want to say, stop if they want to win this ballgame. Who do they have to look out for?
Absolutely, Justin Herbert.
Right.
I think he's one of the best players in this league. Definitely one of the top quarterbacks. He can sling that ball. He was dealing with a little bit of an injury, but he's a guy who can put the team on his back and really get after it.
And it's a little tougher though with those ribs. I mean, who else are you looking at as far as this game, Chargers-wise?
Man, did we see him throw the ball against the Jags like 60 yards down the field with that rib cartilage problem? I'll believe that when I see it. Jonathan's right. It is Herbert. Small one, Eckler. Until the Texans stop the run game, Eckler is going to be a key. But to me, on the other side is Derwin James. Now, with Derwin, he covers so many different people. He's like their version of Petrie, just a little bit older and a little bit bigger. But I think it's Derwin James. Where he lines up, who he covers, you probably should go away from him because he's the truth on that defensive side.
I don't want to think that I sounded flippant earlier when I said, the Chargers are only averaging 2.6 yards because Austin Eckler caught 9 passes last week. I mean, he can catch the ball. He's a part of the offense, and if you're getting him the ball and he's getting yardage out of catching the ball,
absolutely,
the run game is sort of quote unquote doing its job. But let's talk about Austin Eckler. What have we seen from him in the past? What's different about him this year? What are your thoughts on Eckler as a back right now?
Yeah, he's still a great player. He's run for almost 1,000 yards a few times, but his strength is catching the ball out of the backfield, like you said. And I think he has about 26 catches, if I'm not mistaken. He's around in the 20s.
That's a lot at this point in the season.
Especially
for a running back.
Yeah, he's in the early 20s. So he's dangerous, and Jonathan Grenard talked about him. However he gets his yards, they're going to have to stop him, but he can definitely make things tough for an opposing defense.
Banged up Chargers just team as a whole, but as far as the pass catchers, what do you see from them, the guys who will be out there?
Well, if Keenan Allen's playing, he's a problem for anybody because Keenan will line up in the slot, he'll line up outside. He is so wickedly good with the routes, and that just gives Justin Herbert a shorter throw that he can manage with that rib issue. He's not having to rip it 20 yards downfield. Keenan's going to run that little snag route with some tempo and get open, and that's a 10, 12-yard throw for Herbert. That's 5, 7 yards at stealing. So to me, Keenan Allen, I think he's one of the best. I mean, a Greensboro kid from North Carolina, absolutely love him. He doesn't get the credit for what he does, and he apparently is going to be back for this one, and they definitely need him in the passing game.
Time for players to watch. Who's your Texan to watch in this one?
My Texan to watch in this one is going to be Kenyon Green.
Okay.
I love watching the run game. I love watching that guy move people. It's been a while since we've seen offensive linemen around here move people. He moves people. He wins those battles at the line of scrimmage. So I'm going full-on O-line excitement, Kenyon Green.
How about you?
I think Dameon Pierce. I think he's going to be motivated this game. I think he was definitely disappointed in his fumbles. I don't think he'll do it, and I think he'll run hard.
I'm cool with that. I like that. I'm going to go with Nico Collins. Had a nice game last year against the Chargers. Scored that, or caught his first touchdown late in that one. So give me Nico Collins. Give me the second-year receiver. I believe they go to him, and they go to him often in this one at NRG Stadium. All right, stick with us. We're going to be right back with a trivia answer and 2 keys to a victory for the Houston Texans. So long.
Texans Extra Points, presented by Community Coffee, official coffee of the Houston Texans. Also sponsored by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans. And by Mattress Firm, the official sleep partner of the Houston Texans.
All right, earlier on we had the trivia question. Name the 2 wide receivers who have caught touchdowns against the Chargers the last 3 times the Texans have won. There's a lot to get to there. But anyways, Owen Daniels, Garrett Graham, Darren Fells, and Jordan Akins are tight ends who have all caught touchdowns against the Chargers. The only guys that are receivers, get guesses. I've said Nico Collins. You got the other
Collins, Chris Conley.
Chris Conley, yeah, last year. That's the only time it happened. Good job, John Harris. Jonathan Alexander, you'll get him the next time we're on, right? I'll give you that benefit of the doubt. Drew Dougherty
wasn't here last year, man. That's not fair.
Yeah, no, I know. He was covering the Panthers.
That was a layup for me.
He's been covering the Panthers for the last few years in Carolina. So, guys, it's that time of the show. We got to get to keys to a victory. Going to start in the middle. Jonathan Alexander, what must the Texans do to pull out a W?
I think a couple of them, one on the defensive side, is definitely they've got to limit explosive plays.
Okay.
They give up way too many explosive plays. Against the Bears, I think 6 runs of 10 yards or more. They've got to limit those. Keep Justin Herbert from finding Keenan Allen if he plays deep. And then on offense, they've got to establish a run. Like I mentioned before, you know, if Dameon Pierce can really get off, I think that takes a lot of the pressure off Davis Mills that he may be feeling right now, and will allow them to make the passes they need. So I think establishing the run and limiting explosive plays.
Those are two good ones. What are your two?
Well, offensively, third down conversions, short third down conversions.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 3rd and 1s they didn't pick up last week. So I don't know how you do it. I don't know what running back you got to put back there, what group. I don't know what you do. Driscoll and the walk, I don't care. 3rd and 1, you got to get. 3rd and 4, you got to get. So third down conversions offensively to keep drives going. Defensively, to me, this is going to be a space game. This is outside the hashes, near the numbers. This is a space game, and that means tackling's at a premium. Because if you go out there and you miss Eckler, you miss Keenan, a 5-yard run turns into 15, a 7-yard catch turns into 70. Those are things you cannot allow to happen. So to Jonathan's point about explosives, you can't give those up. And to not give those up, your space tackling has to be at a premium level because it's not been the last 3 games. It's got to be in game 4.
All right, last weekend, the Texans were even in turnover differential, meaning they picked 2 passes off, but they had 2 of their own picked off. They had been above water in that category the first 2 games, and that's something that Lovie Smith emphasizes over and over and over. All coaches do. It's a little bit more of an emphasis with Lovie Smith. And his goal every game is to be +3 in that category. They got to make that happen. If they didn't win last year unless they made it +3 in TO differential, basically through the middle of December. So they got to do that, got to get some takeaways and stay clean with the football while on offense and special teams. And another thing, let's score early. Let's get a few touchdowns right off the bat because then, hey, you can establish the run. If it's not already established, with Dameon Pierce, it lets Dameon go, it burns the clock, it shortens the game, and everyone leaves the stadium smiling if you've got on a Texans jersey or a Texans hat or a Texans polo or one of those things. So, John Harris, thank you. Jonathan Alexander, thank you. It's good to be with you. We appreciate you watching. We want to see you at a game. Tickets are available here at NRG Stadium. Show up, show out, have a great time. Just go to HoustonTexans.com/ticketing for more information there, and we'd love to see your smiling, loud faces here in the stadium. For the guys that put the show together, I'm Drew, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.